Hey, everybody, glad to be back with you again. And today's topic is how to diversify your coaching business. And David, we've done some in-depth episodes previously on different ways, you can do coaching. But today I think is more of this overview that we want to talk about for how to make sure that, you give yourself some options as you're building a coaching business.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's people, think I want to be a coach, and that's a great thing because I now that I've done it for many years, it's like, why would I want to do other things? Honestly, I mean, you know that it's
Yeah.
not just that you can earn a good living doing it; it's that you get to really make a difference,
Hmm.
and you really get to impact people. And when you meet another person who's a coach. And like a couple weeks ago, I was in a group of people, and one of the people there was a coach, and we kind of had this like knowing between us
Hmm.
without a better. There was like this. We kind of looked at each other and goes, "You get it, don't you?" He goes, "Yeah, I get it."
Yeah.
Like these other guys are just trying to run businesses to make money. We're doing this for a different reason, and we
Yeah.
just looked at each other like, "Yeah, we." We're in this not just to do something that generates cash flow. We're in this because we're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And there's this deep sense of purpose and satisfaction that you just can't get elsewhere.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is I think that, it is one of the most rewarding things that we can do because it is that impactful. A friend of mine, she's in the process of getting a coaching business started, and she's been texting me all these questions. And it's all the things that I think all beginning coaches ask. It's like, how do I define myself? How do I do this? How do I do that? And but at the same time, to your point, like the heart behind it is like she truly wants to help women with her specific experience and expertise, and she's going to do great. But she's going on this journey of how do I define myself? How do I set up a business? How do I get going in a way that makes sense to people? And and what are the types of options? What are the types of things I should offer out there in the world? And that's what we really kind of want to talk about today, because there's a variety of things you can do. Doesn't mean you should do or need to do everything, but the bottom line is it's really a gift to be able to use your experiences, good or bad, and your expertise, kind of your zone of genius, as they say, to really help people, because maybe you're only 2 or 3 steps ahead of, the people that you're helping. But guess what? They've not taken those 2 or 3 steps. And so they need your help to go from where they are to where you are. And then you keep progressing down the line. And I think that's actually something that's undervalued for a lot of people. A lot of people think, well, they see, uber popular, way experienced like coaches or speakers or trainers on stages and things. And they're like, well, I'm not that kind of an expert. It's like, but you know what? Sometimes those people are so far ahead of others that they can't even relate to, a certain population anymore because they're just not there. They haven't been there in a long time.
Well, I agree with that. And I've had people that I used to listen to the podcast of, and suddenly they're, instead of talking about building a 7-figure business, they're talking about being billionaires. And you're going, I don't know that we're in the same category anymore. I mean, like,
Right.
and I look at it and go, and you're now talking about, you've had somebody offer to buy your business for $1 billion, which again, good for you. I'm happy
Right.
for
That's
you.
awesome. Right.
That's amazing. But guess what? 99% of your audience, probably 99.99% of your audience is not in that category.
Right.
And you're quickly running the risk of you're starting to talk about a whole lot of challenges, problems, opportunities that are going on in your life that the rest of your audience is not there yet.
Yeah.
They're not at a point where they can really say, oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
No, I can't relate to someone coming up to me and saying, hey, I'd like to buy your business for $1 billion.
Right.
No, I haven't had that one yet. That's not an experience that's happened to me yet. So
Yeah.
it is absolutely true. You can absolutely alienate your audience by not talking at the place that they are.
Yeah. Well, and then you think about one of the core struggles that we see people have is finding a consistent, flow of clients, and then really building the business. They have the skill, they know what they're doing from that operational and coaching side of things, but building the business, finding the clients, how do you build a pipeline? How do you market all these things? That's where we often run into, our clients, helping them, think about those things, because for many people, especially starting out, coaching is there's in essence, there's kind of a low bar of entry, right? Anybody with a, can become a coach with their expertise and their skills, which is great. But that doesn't mean everybody knows how to build a business as a coach that's going to be sustainable. And, even what kind of offers do I put out there? Because once again, there's great reasons to become a coach, but that doesn't mean that you automatically get to, we've talked about this before, you don't get to kind of hang up your shingle out on the storefront and all of a sudden have, a flood of clients. So, we just want to kind of highlight today what kind of options you have and maybe some things to think about so that you can diversify your business, because some people just want to be one-on-one coaches. That's fine. We'll talk about that. But other people say, you know what, that's a part of my business, but I don't necessarily want it to be my entire business.
Well, and I agree. And look, let's just start digging into them. Like one-on-one is, some of this depends on what kind of work you do.
Sure.
Let's just be really honest with you. For some, with some clients, it's very deep.
Yeah.
And it's very personal, and it's a very, I'm going to use the word intimate journey. And I don't mean that in like
but sensitive, right?
But sensitive. Maybe that's a better word to use. It's a very journey where people are really digging deep into their own psyche and really challenging their own beliefs and coming to grips with things that happen to them in their lives. And it can get very sensitive. And that type of work is best done in a one-on-one setting where people feel like it's a safe environment with just the two of you who are talking and working through things. Nobody wants to air all their personal fears and concerns to a large group. That's just not what people want to do. So one-on-one, depending on the type of work that you do, one-on-one may be the best way to do it. And, as we've talked about, you can charge a lot of money for one-on-one coaching. I mean, it's because you're dedicating time for the next hour or two is just for you. That's all I'm doing. So you can charge much more per client on that basis. And there are people that, especially like who do executive coaching. I mean, I know there are people out there who just do executive coaching. They charge a monthly retainer fee. And they're basically there for those executives at businesses that they're there to serve them and to help them. And they charge, a few thousand a month for their retainer. And these people pay it because now they have someone in their corner that can be there for them, that can help them, they can guide them through everything that they need to do in their life. And then you have enough to support you and to deal with everything you want, and you can just focus on those clients, and it's perfect for some people. The other side of it, I know, like I can only do so many one-on-ones in a day. Like the downside for me is I know, like when I do a one-on-one, a lot of times because I pour so much of my heart into it, and I'm so dialed in and I'm so invested in that person for the last hour or two, that I a lot of times will hit a point where I'm like, whew, like that was, I need to go like take a walk or like go do something else because I've really poured myself out. And there is a limit to the number that you can do in a day because it does. It's a both and it's incredibly life-giving because you have this deep sense of satisfaction. Like, wow, I really made a difference for them. And then the other side of it is you're really giving and pouring out. And so there is a limit to what you can do.
Yeah, I've experienced that for sure as well, because, doing leadership coaching over the years for me, when I have had, especially when I've had like one-on-one coaching within an organization and some key leaders, like I think the max I ever did, I tried to do maybe like 5 sessions a day. That was a lot for me. I think 4 really became my max over time. But to your point, like it was great, but it was exhausting because, it was a lot of that emotional and mental energy that you're pouring into clients. And so, yeah, you're right. So that's the challenge, right? Is capacity. And, it's impact can be very high, but your capacity of how many a day and how many a week you can do, that may be much lower than some other forms that we'll talk about today. And, I've even had, it's interesting because, as you were talking about the sensitivity of things, there are certain personal life issues that people definitely prefer that or would only want to do one-on-one coaching with. But I've also, with leadership coaching, there are things that people will not say among their peers that they would say one-on-one and tell me, and how, we'd work through things one-on-one. Even in it might have been a business issue, but it was sensitive enough that they didn't want to make it a public issue or a team issue.
Right.
And so it's, because for me, it's like, we know folks that help people with trauma and getting over the hurts and the hangups of that they've dealt with. And we have great clients who are helping a lot of great people. But that's not the only side of this, right? Sometimes it's just people just need that sounding board. I mean, one of my one-on-one clients, small business owner, who, he just needs to sit down and kind of just vent a lot of times. And I've actually wondered many times, like, is this valuable? Like, is this really helpful to him? And then when I've asked him that, he's like, I don't have somebody to talk to, right? It's that, like you said, it's just having that person in your corner, and one-on-one can be deeply impactful because of that.
Well, and I've had the exact same experience. Is that sometimes you become the one person that they can talk to about these issues in their life.
Yep.
It's like they're for whatever reason, especially like a lot of times it's very common among entrepreneurs who are running a business, and the vast majority of people are not entrepreneurs, and they work for a company or an organization and do whatever it is that they do, but they don't relate to the journey of being the person in charge. And a person, like, if I don't do this, it doesn't get done. And there is no other person that I can point to, the person that I can say, hey, this isn't working, it's your responsibility. And now it's pretty much all coming back to me all the time. And if I'm going to get new clients, it's up to me to figure it out. If I'm going to create a marketing plan, it's up to me. And all of these things. So there comes a point in time of sometimes entrepreneurs or people who are very similar need somebody who understands them, who can sit there and just talk to them, and let them express their feelings and fears and emotions.
Yeah, I was actually in a meeting yesterday. A friend of mine and I were talking to somebody that was in a struggling situation at their organization, and my friend said to them, I did this one-on-one coaching experience with somebody. You ought to talk to him because this really helped me. And she kind of started pointing out the very specific things. And her coach is a good friend of mine. And so I knew the process that he had gone through with her, but it was interesting to hear her side of it, of this is how it was impactful and how it might help you with your team. And so now that group is, considering, bringing in a coach because of the very things they're struggling with. And so, folks, this one-on-one coaching thing is no joke. I mean, it's very intense in many ways. It can be very rewarding in many ways, but like we said, there's a capacity, and so you have to be careful and that kind of leads us to what our second option is, right? Even if you're doing one-on-one, if you want to scale and the sensitivity level isn't too high, right, where you can truly focus on and get people in a room together or a Zoom call together or whatever. Group coaching is where a lot of scalability happens. David, would you agree?
100%. And even on areas where things can be a little sensitive, you can make group work.
Yeah.
And by that, it's like, okay, like we know people who have taken people who are dealing with sensitive things, but you're not focused on like the wound, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like if you're dealing with a situation where people are healing from a difficult thing, they're struggling with a problem that they have in life, you're in a group setting, you're not focused on the wound or what happened or the hurt. What you're focused on is the steps to healing.
Yeah.
And so that is a lot less personal. So what you can really do is you can still group coach in that format, but you just have to be aware that you're not going down that path of like dealing with the more, deep
So you don't want to make people feel awkward and everything, right?
And where they're going to be asked to share and expose themselves emotionally and become very vulnerable in ways that are going to be very awkward and uncomfortable. And so you can still do it in that way. You can still do it. But I always then say, great, just focus on the healing part, focus on the success part. Like, okay, we are where we are, but now how do we find the way out the door and to get back to a good quality of life, whether it's improving your health, whether it's improving yourself mentally and emotionally, whether it's improving your business. whether it's, healing their marriage or whatever that may be. Those are all the steps then you do in a group environment, because now you're teaching skills, you're teaching what do I need to do, what are some of the steps, what should I do next, what should be my next plan of action, and that really works well in a group environment, because one person comes in and they're struggling with this and they're trying to figure out how to do that next thing, so you kind of help them figure it out. Well, someone else is on the call listening going, wait a minute, that's kind of my story too.
Right.
So you're ended up helping multiple people at the same time, even though you're only speaking to one.
Yeah.
And that's a big plus with the group coaching.
It is. And it was something I completely underestimated when I first started my business, because for me, I thought it had to be only one-to-one. That was my that was my focus. And another aspect that you've touched on, but haven't said the exact words though, is building that supportive community. Is, because you have people hearing each other, you have people that are navigating similar, not the same situations, whether that be in business or life in general. And so for me, that was probably the tipping point of changing my perspective on this, because I kept seeing people do group programs and that was kind of their primary focus. And I thought, well, yeah, but there's a lack of focus with those individuals. But then I realized, as I went through more group coaching programs over the years and started to really pay attention, like, well, I'm learning, like you said, from that person asked a question I didn't even think about asking. Now I've learned about that. Now I'm thinking differently, but also now I'm also in this peer community of people who are all trying to get better and grow and accomplish goals and dreams that we have. And so it was a mindset shift for me. And I think maybe there's some people that are listening to think that, well, if you think, one-on-one is the only way to really have that kind of impact, it's really not true. You just have to frame it and build it in a way that people know that, hey, whatever the topic, area is of what you're coaching on, when you get like-minded people in the room together,
right,
it can be transformational.
Good things can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But the also nice from a business standpoint, right, is you can scale it so much better. Like we said, you can have, maybe you could either define a group and say, I'm going to have groups of 8, 10, 20 people max, or you could say it's going to be wide open and we're going to have regular calls, and whoever comes on, you have access to, almost like office hours, so to speak, where just, every week you can be, if you need help with this thing. So you can kind of frame it in different ways based on your expertise and the goals of the group. But it's also, a lot of times, Dave, you mentioned the high price point for one-on-one that can be there. Well, group coaching a lot of times makes it more affordable for more people. And so your time investment as the coach doesn't necessarily change, but the amount of income you can earn grows, because 10 people paying, this fee can be actually more than that one person paying you that retainer fee.
100%. That's how scale can really be done, rather than, as we said, your cap on one-on-one is real.
Yeah.
The ceiling on what you're going to earn is real, because, like I said, you can only keep raising your rates individually for each of those clients until eventually they're like, hey, like, I can't go that high. I mean, that's too much money, and so forth. So the group really opens you up to being able to democratize the process of what you're doing, invite a lot more people into the journey, make it much more affordable. And again, you can have a tremendous impact. I've been on plenty of group calls in my life where I never asked a question, but I walked away with all sorts of insights.
Yeah.
And all I was doing was listening, and I went, that was really good. I can use that. Or, oh, that was a good idea. And sometimes the fun thing is that I've been on group calls where I was leading them, and I've literally sat there and watched the people coach themselves.
Right.
I'm just going, wow, look at that. They're helping each other and coaching each other, and I'm just sitting here watching it happen. So
your value then at that point is you're the community builder and the facilitator of those relationships. And it is, you're right. It's like, we don't have to be the be all end all. And I think that's where ego gets in the way of some coaches, if you're not careful, is if I have to have all the answers, then I'm going to actually put a ceiling on the effectiveness of a group program. But if I lead the group, if I'm the leader and the facilitator and I'm the community builder and moderator, then I can facilitate, because within that group, that this person actually has had experience in that. And so you can call on them and say, hey, Joe or Jim or whoever, right? Can you help, him or her with this topic, because I know you went through that yourself. So when you know those things as a coach, you can, like you said, your value is being a connector. And I've learned that a lot, in programs that for me, I'm like, I realized as I run a program, there are people I know in my network that other people don't know. And so if I bring them into that group to even speak as an expert, and kind of be a guest, that I'm adding value to my members of that group, not because of anything I'm saying, but because of the person I'm connecting them to, or the resources I'm connecting them to. And so think about that, folks, when you're doing group coaching, that, it doesn't just have to be about you. And honestly, it shouldn't just be about you, because let the group dynamic really be a valuable asset, because that's huge for people. People are, David, I say it this way: we're in a very connected world, but people are very lonely in a very connected world right now.
Agreed.
And I think group coaching is a way to build those bridges in a way that maybe the rest of their lives aren't.
And how many times have we heard our clients say, this isn't just something I'm a part of, this is my family.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I wouldn't miss hanging out with my family, because that's
they don't have, sometimes, like, I don't have a question, but I just want to be here.
Right. Exactly. And that's the power of what you can do in a group environment. Mm-hmm. But there is two different ways of doing it as groups. One is obviously just the straight up group environment, which that is really a good choice if you have a target end that you're working towards.
Right.
Like, if you're, for example, you're helping people go through a weight loss program, and like, okay, we're going to go through these next steps, and in the next 6 months, 12 months, we should have you where you want to be. Great. You're trying to publish a book. Great. Once you get the book published, we accomplish the mission.
Right.
Or you're trying to, do a book launch, and okay, we got that done. We've come to the end of the
project deadline.
It has a deadline. The other side of it is there are things in life that don't have deadlines like that, where there's ongoing issues. There's ongoing things like starting and running a business.
Yeah.
That does not have a finish line.
Yeah.
It is a journey. It is every time you build up some skill, you have more success. We're doing great here. We're right there. Oh, guess what? Now I have new things I need to figure out. I have new challenges and opportunities that I need to work my way through. And so that's when our next option becomes the better option, which is a membership, which is you can be part of something, be part of a community, be part of the service, and you can hop in and get help as you need it.
Right.
Because there isn't a hard finish line. There isn't a, oh my goodness, there's a, we're staring at, this issue, and we're still ongoing and going. And I always want to have this resource available to me, this community available to me that can help me as I need it. And because the story and the journey just keeps going.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And so, when I talk to coaches that are thinking about the group model, some, like you said, it's very definitive of, an 8-week or 12-week program could, in some cases, it could be longer, like you said, 6 to 12 months, depending on what you're working on. Is, once, but you cross a finish line, and that this has been accomplished during this time. The membership model that I've really, learned to love and like, just in the way it functions is, it is like that. It's a relationship. You and I have talked a lot about how building a membership program and community is really about, you're building a relational business, whereas a group coaching program might be more task focused or outcome based with a project or a specific goal. Memberships, you still have those goals along the way. Like you said, they're kind of perpetual. They don't just end one day. But you're also building a relationship, so that community aspect we talked about with group coaching carries over much longer, and it allows, as the business owner, it gives you monthly recurring revenue that's going to, build a sustainable business. From a member side of it, you just know that you can keep showing up, and it's, people are going to be there. Those people that you want to be around are going to be there week after week or month after month, however you set it up. So I think the membership model is something that a lot of people are moving toward and understanding a lot more. I know for us, it's been something we've studied and really looked into and thought about as we developed our Design, Launch, Grow coaching program and the model. Because, for instance, like you said, we kind of focus on 3 stages of designing, launching, and growing your business. But when do you stop growing your business? Right.
when you sell it or retire.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
So yeah, it's pretty much a lifelong journey until you hit that point.
yeah. So a membership model for us makes sense because people are all on it's like we're developing these roadmaps of, where are you on your journey and your model. And some people are on stage 1, some people are on stage 4, some people are on stage 9, wherever, but it's because people are on different legs of the journey. The members, they can show up and ask questions, get the coaching, get the help, the support they need, while also, helping others potentially through that community dynamic.
And I think it's important to remember too, is that you can switch your business model around to go from a group to a membership.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you're in the health business and you're helping people lose weight, great. That could be a good group model because once they get to their weight goal, they've achieved it. But what if you switch it to helping you create and maintain a healthy lifestyle?
Right.
So it's not just about the weight loss, which has a defined end. Like I want to lose, for example, they want to lose 50 pounds. Okay.
Right.
When they get to the 50 pounds, they've achieved that. But the journey goes on.
Correct.
Now it's a matter of staying in that place,
yeah,
staying healthy, maintaining that healthy lifestyle. So you can switch a group model to a membership model if you switch the focus. So if the focus for a membership model needs to not have a finish line in that regard, it needs to be about the journey, about like, okay, we're going to help you create a healthy lifestyle. It's like me and my trainer at the gym.
Yeah.
Like there is no like, okay, David, you're now done.
You've graduated.
You've graduated.
You'll never gain weight again.
You've lifted this much weight and you've hit the box and we're done.
Right.
No. And it's like every time I go to the gym and I think, well, I've already done this. I've done it well. Well, we're changing it up. I'm like, what? What do you mean you're changing it up? Like, oh, we're now like, oh, you're making it harder. You devious people, you always find a way to make it harder.
Yep.
Just when I'm getting the hang of doing this exercise, you all of a sudden invent ways to make it more challenging. But that's to always grow and grow and grow it, so it never ends. And that's part of this journey, is that you have to position your business in a membership model so that it doesn't have a finish line. So that it has this, how am I going to help you help you create a healthy lifestyle? How am I going to help you grow a successful business? If you're helping people publish a book, and instead of helping people publish a book, you could say, how am I going to help you, publish your book and then create learn how to become a full-time author and create a living as an author, as a writer. So there's
it's a different journey, isn't it?
It's a whole different journey. You've now created a journey for them to join a membership that isn't with a finish line.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about these two and which one makes the most sense, that's really one of the primary questions you need to ask yourself is, do I have a finish line?
But there's also kind of a caveat model that I've heard that I've seen some people do, actually, where they do a group program for, let's say, 8 to 12 weeks.
Yes. And then
they say, okay, now that we're done with this, the focus of this, if you want to stay connected and get that ongoing support, then here's the membership that you can join. That's that ongoing, perpetual option. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I've heard, people say that they finish a group program and the people are really bummed because now these are my people. Like, what do I do with now that I'm done?
And that offers the opportunity to stay in.
Right. So a membership then is a great layer to say, okay, that next step, now that we've focused, because I think in that case, a group program could be like an intensive training of, getting a project done or a goal. But then the membership, like you said, is more for what, I've heard memberships called maintenance programs. To your point, kind of the health side of it is, okay, now that you've done, achieved a certain goal, now let's move you into the maintenance stage. And it's that keeping it up, keeping that encouragement, keeping you on the right track, helping you take those next steps. And so, folks, that's something where you could pair those two things together. It doesn't have to be an either or situation. It can truly be a both and if it's something you'd like to do.
Right.
And then there's also the other model we want to just kind of, throw out there is workshops. And that may not sound like a coaching model necessarily at first, But as I thought about this, David, really in workshop environments, when it's a true workshop, not, I think workshops and seminars are those words are used a lot of times as if they're the same, and they're really not. I look at a seminar as I'm going to communicate information to an audience and present, to them. I can be training, or it can be inspirational. But a workshop is really you're truly coaching people through a process of some sort. So it could be a day long, it could be 2 or 3 day long, weekend, whatever it looks like. But a workshop is you're kind of meshing training and teaching skills with coaching people.
So
I've
it's
heard
more
kind of,
interactive.
what's that?
It's more interactive.
Yeah, it's interactive. That's a good way to say it, right? Is that I'm going to teach you some skills, but now you're going to practice it. And now I'm going to walk around, I'm going to help you work, and review things with you. And I've seen this done for people that do speaking training. I've seen this done like with even copywriting and marketing kind of training. There's workshops, but it's truly it's truly a training and coaching environment. And if you're a coach who has a skill set, it doesn't have the long-term relational building necessarily like a group program or membership, but in that intensive environment, relationships still are fostered and formed that could last longer. So what's your take rather on workshops?
Well, I mean, those are very powerful ways. But you kind of are switching the game a little bit in that, and this is something that we've realized as well. Is some people don't want to do the one-on-one work in terms of like, I don't want to work with one client at a time or individuals. You want to go into an organization and work with all of their employees or all their team or all of their leaders and do that kind of work to bring about change in an organization. And some people, especially like leadership coaches, that's a great place for them to go because obviously, when do you need leaders? Well, you need leaders who are in charge of people.
Yeah.
That's where that model makes a lot of sense. So it makes a lot of sense to go into an organization and then, you do a workshop where you're actually working with people and you're teaching them skills. It's not just standing up there and spewing information at them and saying, well, these are the principles. No, you're actually saying, okay, we're going to work through this and I'm going to take you through some exercises. You're going to do these things. And as a result of doing those things, you're going to build skill.
Yeah.
And you're going to have some epiphanies and you're going to have some moments where you go, I get it now.
Yeah.
I understand. I was doing it like that. That wasn't the best way. I should be doing it like this. That would be much more effective. Because there is so much more value, because there's always that comment of like, I can have someone tell me something and that has value. Me learning something from someone absolutely has value, but there's so much more value when I actually for the first time do it.
Yeah.
And I actually experience it for myself and go, wow.
Yeah.
Because now it's no longer an idea. Now it's becoming a practice. And that makes a huge difference in my ability then to utilize it in my own life.
Yeah. For instance, I had two companies I was working with at the same time that it was kind of like, now that I think back on it, it was kind of a case study of kind of how different groups and organizations think of things. But I had one company who I thought that they should do more one-on-one coaching, and they were resistant at first, but they were open to workshops. And so we started there. And then after about a year or two of doing the workshop series I was doing with them, then I said, it would really be helpful to you if you would add one-on-one coaching calls between, because we were doing like 1 month would be a workshop and then it'd be an off month and then a work. So every other month. I said, well, what if we did coaching calls on that off month? So we're learning and we're having this group environment teaching and engagement. And then on the next month, we're having one-on-one calls. And they finally came around to that. And there was a lot of great growth there. So it was this hybrid model of one-on-one and the workshop together. I also had another company at the same time who they signed up for the workshop and one-on-one model, but they really wanted the one-on-ones more than the workshop. And actually, after the first year, we dropped the workshop off of their contract because it just wasn't what they really wanted, more of the one-on-one. But it was, once again, trying to get them in the same room as a team, trying to train them and help them. So different organizations, different leaders, different people are going to want different things. And especially based on your topic, whether it's leadership, whether it's sales training, whether it's, marketing, whatever it may be, you just have to think about your audience, and workshops are a great place. And I know a lot of coaches will use workshops as kind of that entry point to the one-on-one level or a group coaching or a membership model, beyond that, because people will commit to maybe a 1-day workshop or a 2-day workshop because it feels safer than sign up for like a perpetual membership or a longer term program, or especially going deep with one-on-one in whatever your area is. So workshops can, it may feel like that's more of a speaker lane than a coach lane, but the reality is that you're just doing group coaching in a confined time and space, and helping people, like you said, develop skills and work through things. And so you still are coaching them. It's just a different environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to utilize coaching skills in a completely different avenue, in a completely different lane.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take all the same skills that you have, all the same gifting, your ability, your desire to help people, your ability to share ideas and principles and ways to improve people's lives, and all you're doing is shifting the environment and doing it in a different environment. So it's another great opportunity, and again, it opens up a whole other lane of potential clients for you in organizations, and learning and doing it in an organizational manner instead of on the individual side. So
Absolutely. Well, folks, our goal today was really just to show you that coaching really can be done in a variety of ways. It's, like I said, when I first started, I was very limited, very narrow minded about I have to do one-on-one coaching. And it took me a while to really understand the value of different models. And the reality is now I do all these. And that's the crazy part, right? If you'd have told me 5, 6, 8 years ago, 8 years ago, especially 9 years ago when I first started, that you're going to be doing all these things, I'd have been like, no, I'm not, because I don't want to do that. Like, I just want to do this. And then I've just realized over time that was a limited perspective on how I could truly coach and impact people. And so now I do all this, and I do more of some than others at times, and that's fine, but these are all avenues, they're all vehicles of coaching that you can utilize to really make an impact on the lives of your customers, your clients. So don't limit yourself. Think about ways, like we said, if you've been doing one-on-one, think about how could you take that to a group model to scale that more, or if you're doing group, how could you move to a next step of a membership recurring model that could help your business with recurring revenue and give people that extra attention and that ongoing, community that they desire. And if maybe you haven't thought about doing workshops as an entry point, even, or a key part of bringing your clients together, because David, I know that's something that people do too, is they have a bunch of one-on-one clients, but then they're like, every quarter or every 6 months they do a workshop where they invite all those one-on-one clients into the same space. That's another way to do this, right? So there's all these different. The sky's the limit, I think, is really my final thought. I mean, any final thoughts you have as we wrap up today?
well, and I agree with you. Like, you're limited by your creativity.
Mm,
Like, how else can I serve my client? What
yeah,
other ways can I make this happen? Because you're right, workshops can be done for individuals as well. As that you could hold quarterly workshops, and your one-on-one clients could then, like, you're doing it virtually over Zoom, you could be holding a workshop once a quarter where they come into town,
yep,
wherever it is that you're located, and you hold a in-person workshop.
yeah,
And you could be working with them for a day or two, and really being intensive and really getting a lot of progress made for them. And this could be another great way of, even on that side, and not even just in organizations, you could even apply it to the individual side.
right,
Again, workshops, conferences, all sorts of ways that you can use your coaching skills to
yep.
make an income, influence people's lives, make a difference, and further your business. So
Absolutely. Well, folks, if you need help with that and you really want to, need that coaching and support to help you, and you want to be a part of a supportive, thriving community of like-minded entrepreneurs, check out designlaunchgrow.com. We are building something that we are super excited about with our clients, of helping them, really think about these things and fresh perspectives, and then helping them tactically build them from some from the ground up. Others have been out on this journey for a while, and they're just trying to go to that next level and figure out, how do I maybe modify, or how do I scale. Wherever you are in your journey, there's a place for you in Design Launch Grow. So check out designlaunchgrow.com. We'd love to have you join us and be able to help you through your entrepreneurial process. So take care, and we will see you soon.